I used to get asked all the time whether or not I preferred dubbed anime or subbed anime, and my response was always I watch both. If you're a real fan, that's what you should do. You watch both the subbed and the dubbed. The subbed usually comes out first, and the dub will come out later. But if you like the anime, or if you're an analyzer type like myself, you would watch both. And even despite recent events, I'm still right. That is still the correct answer. There's a big discussion going on about localizers and the things that they get away with and have gotten away with for a long time. Now, I'm of the opinion that localizers are, I won't say necessary, but they're a good thing to have. But my idea of a localizer and what current localizers are doing are completely and totally different things. You see, for me, a localizer's job is to draw comparisons to things that don't have a direct translation. You see, despite the passage of time, anime is a media that is written, produced, and made by Japanese people for Japanese people. That means that all of its cultural references are from Japanese culture. So while yes, there are things that don't need localization, they just need a direct translation, there are tons of things that just only exist in Japanese culture. For example, I know what a zakshi watashi is, but your average viewer probably doesn't. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I also know what a taru bozu is. And yes, it's very easy for somebody to just whip out their phone or open up a new tab and Google those things and find out what they mean or what they are. But if you're on the couch and you're just watching anime casually in the dead of night or whatever, you're not going to want to do that. That's where a localizer would come in and give a very brief explanation of what that means or what certain references in Japanese culture is to fill in the gap that a regular translation just wouldn't be able to pull off. Now, see, that's the difference between my idea of a localizer, but obviously we know that that's not what the current localizers are doing when it comes to anime. And that's very, very unfortunate. Now, the reason that I still admire and respect the English dubs of anime, or dubs of anime in any language, is because, generally speaking, they're not the ones responsible for these terrible localizations that kind of spit on the intended message for the original media. Now, obviously, in the case of Miss Kobayashi-san's Dragon Maid, or Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, sorry, we know that maybe the voice actors had a little bit more say or had a little bit more direct input on that localization and how horrible it is. But there are a lot of good English voice actors that are just doing their part. They're just reading the lines that they're given. And they do a good job. Amelie is one that immediately springs to mind. Sayu, Laura Bailey, Liam O'Brien, just to name a few, but there are definitely more. And the quality of their work isn't something that I question even now. So, whenever I say that I think that localizers are a good idea, just know that I'm not talking about what current localizers are doing. There's a huge, huge difference. One of my favorite anime, for comedy at least, is Nichijou. And I'll be honest, I can't really recommend it to anyone because there are a lot of jokes that don't make any sense if you're not familiar with Japanese culture. That's the sort of thing that a localizer could come in and fix, but that doesn't mean that they would have to be changing the intended meaning or inputting their own political ideals or agenda or anything like that. To me, a localizer's job is to just quickly and briefly make a comparison or clarify something that only exists in a single culture. And it's a talent that would be respectable because You have to have an understanding of both the Japanese culture and whatever culture you're localizing it to, but you also have to word it and fit it into the scene quickly enough that it doesn't distract from everything else that's going on, but still manages to convey the message and clarify meanings and all of that. So it is the type of thing that, if done correctly, would be a very respectable job, and something that makes anime easier to enjoy for everyone, regardless of where you're from. But again, it's different than what's happening right now. But I want to know, what do you think about the idea? Do you think that you can get away with having just a translation, even in anime that do heavily draw on less known aspects of another culture? Do you think that it's okay for localizers to do what they're currently doing? I mean, after all, the English dub of Ghost Stories is beloved, and it is a far cry different than what the original anime was supposed to be. So there is a discussion to be had about it. Is it okay for something to be done that drastic as long as it's funny? Or should we condemn all sorts of, let's call it bastardizations of original works? Why is it okay when Ghost Story does it, but not when Kobayashi's Dragon Maid does it? Is it purely because it wasn't funny, or because it was political in nature? Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in another video.